Here's a close-up look at Hurricane Laura as it continues to move to the north-northwest at 15 miles an hour. The pressure's risen just very slightly, although the wind speeds have stayed the same, and there's even been some wind gusts offshore at about 180 miles an hour for the wind gusts. This right here is the sustained at 150, and the pressure's risen for a little bit from 937 millibars and 939 millibars. But the best I can gather as far as the wind field is concerned, it looks like where you're seeing those moderate rain, pretty much the yellow shaded areas right there, that's where your tropical storm force winds begin. And then of course around the eye wall, that would be where the hurricane force winds are. Pretty nice evening out there. Those temperatures starting to dip just a little bit as we have drier air coming in, clearing skies throughout the metro as well. Temperatures right at 59 degrees, so they are getting a little bit chillier out there. We did have breezy conditions earlier today behind the front, but now since the nighttime has set in, those winds have gotten a little bit lighter. 1/4 inch to 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain and sleet throughout most of the area. On top of that, we could see a trace to up to 1 inch of snow in the blue shaded areas that you see. Once you go northwest, that cold air gets deeper. It's not as shallow, it gets deeper. So because of that, we expect 1 to 3 inches of snowfall. This has to do a lot with the tornadic activity that we have on the right side, especially the northeast side of the hurricane. Numerous severe storms will be possible through the overnight hours, and also scattered severe storms for the northern half of the viewing area possible through the overnight hours. So Thursday, those tornado chances will continue. Scattered severe storms could be possible, and possibly scattered tornado warnings as well, just like what we experienced earlier today could be the case once again there for your Thursday. That threat is a level 2 out of a level 5. Some of us have cooled off into the upper 40s thanks to that rainfall. We did have a little bit of dry air in the lower levels, and so we did see a little bit of evaporative cooling. But whenever a drought like this occurs for so long, the ground gets hard and it starts to cake on top. And so what happens is when you have those heavy rains, those thunderstorm rains, and that rain just comes down, it just wipes right off of it and goes into the drains or haulers or wherever it may. It does not soak into the ground. And so that's really not the type of rain that you want in this environment. What you want is you want a long, prolonged soaking rain, a rain that's moderate, that soaks the whole viewing area and that lasts for hours, not a thunderstorm rain that only lasts 30 minutes and then rolls on. So that's really the type of rain that we look for whenever it comes to these weather patterns, and unfortunately it looks like over the next 7 days that probably won't be the case.
Looks like we'll enjoy the rest of the week, a dry rest of the week, and then next week should be rainy.
Yeah, that's right. We definitely do deserve it. Right now it looks like there's maybe a very tiny chance of severe weather on Tuesday, but of course it's too far out to get too specific.
All right, definitely looking at that. Thanks, Barrett. All right, well, speaking of Barrett, he also went and visited one of our local schools today. Today, Barrett Phillips visited second grade students at Phoenix Magnet Elementary in Alexandria. He's talked about what broadcast meteorologists do and how one can get into the industry. This is all part of their community helpers unit, discussing different job fields and career paths in the community. And they were a smart group of kids with an interest in weather. You can have a meteorologist also visit your class by going to KLB.com and clicking the Weather Lab tab.
As mentioned earlier, there's a stationary front across the area, and you can see it's very slow movement here. It's moving to the south just a little bit, starting to get into the metro. And the way the radar picks up fronts is that the fronts will usually kick up just a little bit of dust, or what we call aerosols, in the atmosphere, and the radar picks up on those aerosols. Aerosols just meaning just particles or dust in the atmosphere, maybe smog in the atmosphere, just generic things. That's going to do its best to kind of turn this up to the north, which it's already done a good job doing that. And then this high pressure earlier was steering that up to the north and west. This high pressure, some models were wanting to take it into East Texas, even further into East Texas, and that was due to this high pressure kind of bubbling over to the west, but that really just didn't happen. So therefore it looks like it's going to zip on up the state line. But if anything, it's my personal opinion that the eye wall could go over a lot of Beauregard and Vernon parishes. Now I checked the temperatures at some individual stations in these areas. On average, you're running right around 33. I did find one station near a dry prong though that did read 32.0 degrees. So most of this still rain with a little bit, maybe some freezing rain starting to mix in. This right here is a photo of a sundog that was taken by Julie Carey, and this right here was taken just east of Tioga. It was actually on Donahue Ferry Road earlier this afternoon, and this was emailed to us. And basically how this works is the sun is actually behind the clouds, and what happens is whenever the light comes at a straight angle, you can only see so many colors within it, but not all the colors, not all the colors of the rainbow. And I do want to mention this is not a rainbow, it is a sundog, but you have ice crystals high up in the atmosphere within the clouds, and with the ice crystals, the light goes through the crystals, and the crystals actually bend the light a little bit, kind of like what sunlight does whenever it goes into water or into a pool or something. It bends a little bit, and because that light bends, you're able to actually see all the colors of the rainbow that's within that light. I think this right here is going to be pretty much spot on. You know, the National Hurricane Center upped those winds a little bit for the Vernon Parish and Beauregard Parish areas, and that's pretty much on par with what we have here. You notice I-49. If you live along I-49, you can experience those wind gusts up to about 65 miles an hour, up to about 45 miles an hour in Natchez, a little bit calmer in that direction, but a lot of Vernon, Beauregard parishes could see those wind gusts up to maybe even 110 miles an hour. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, it looks like we could definitely see a warming trend, maybe even mid-90s.
It's not what I want to hear. I didn't want to hear that one. Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm not saying it can't change. Hopefully it does change, but that looks to be the trend as of now.
You got a week to change it, Barrett.
I got a week.
You got a week.
We'll see.
All right, thank you, Barrett.
Everybody's going to see a little bit of everything. Freezing rain, sleet, snow, but the transition will be much quicker to the northern and western areas from that freezing rain to sleet and then to snow. We do have tropical depression too over here meandering across the northeastern Gulf. You notice most of the activity to the northeast side of the center of low pressure there. You notice some activity earlier today with the heat of the day along Florida and extending south toward the Florida Keys as well. You notice this has just made the pig curl loop, and so it is now heading to the south there over the next few days. It is actually predicted to become a tropical storm, and if that happens, we'll have the first name tropical storm of the season. Once we head into Friday, you notice a 60% chance of precipitation. Not really sold on it all yet. Some models are saying that front's going to come through dry. Other models are saying we could get quite a bit of rain out of it, so we're just kind of taking the average of the models that we have available. It does have a center of circulation, but that center of circulation isn't too well defined right now, but the overall storm system is a little bit better organized. You notice a lot of wind shear aloft, and that right there causes a lot of forcing. This right here is a non-tropical disturbance, basically meaning it's cold core in the upper levels. It's not warm core, so because of that, it's non-tropical, and there's only about a 20% chance that this does become tropical. Front rolls on through, and we lose the daytime heating on Saturday. Things that actually may clear out for the Pineville fireworks.
Yeah, Barry, when I was walking over to the studio, it's kind of getting blustery outside.
Yeah, it's definitely that rain-cooled air. You know, it's denser than the warmer air around it, so it sinks, and once it sinks, it hits the surface, it spreads out in all directions, and can kind of feel good, especially in a hot, sweltering day. We're actually out here at LSUA's 17th annual Trick-or-Treat Street Celebration going on. It actually starts within the next hour. As you can see, it's just a beautiful late afternoon out here, soon to be evening. Not hardly a cloud to be found, maybe a little bit of cirrus clouds over there in the distance, but that's about it. And you notice throughout the rest of the state, temperatures are in the 70s. We have 75 degrees here locally. A very active day today, storm-wise. You can hear the rain and the thunder outside the roof there. You'll notice that the squall line's rolling to the east at a pretty good clip. You can expect to see up to 3 inches of rainfall with this squall line as it rolls through your area. These northern warnings here are basically winds gusting up to 70 miles an hour. That's along these northern areas here from the Windsor area down to Harrisonburg, Jonesville, Gina, extending down to Pollock. And it looks like they've actually just allowed that severe thunderstorm warning for repeats in Vernon Parish to expire. So that's good news there, but still seeing those winds gusting up to 60 to 70 miles an hour there for northern areas. And then it looks like it's become sub-severe once you go further south of there. Still a lot of heavy rainfall though moving through the metro area. In fact, some of the heaviest rainfall right now moving through the metro, and that heavy rainfall extends to the south but does become more scattered once you go into parts of Beauregard Parish. Temperatures in the 70s out along and ahead of the squall line, 60s out behind that squall line. We have 67 at the airport, up to 78 in Marksville, down to about 64 right now for the Winfield area. This is all part of a very large system that extends all the way up into the Midwest. You can see some rain on the northeastern side, getting to that cool sector there. Then you notice blizzard, winter storm warnings, even blizzard warnings for parts of Minnesota and the Dakotas as well. They're expecting up to 3 feet of snow by the time it all comes to an end. So numerous severe storms, well, you can pretty much say they've already happened for northern areas. Scattered severe storms will be possible as well for southern areas there. The metro itself is included in level 3 out of level 5 here for central Louisiana. And the further northeast you go, the worse those storm chances get. The severe winds and also the hail will be the two primary factors. We've already seen that radar indicated, not only radar indicated, but also seen reports of that, especially coming out of Sabine Parish as well. So those are the two primary factors, although we have seen I believe two tornado warnings so far here in central Louisiana as well. So that's going to continue to be a possibility, up to about a 15% chance of you receiving an isolated tornado within 25 miles of where you live. And along these squall lines, those tornadoes can pop up very quickly and also dissipate very quickly. So you have to keep your guard up because they can happen like that. Those temperatures eventually dipping to the 60s, and the squall line gets into our southeastern areas later on, right around 7, 8 o'clock this evening, pushes out of the area by midnight tonight. Temperatures dip into the 50s. I think the upper 40s may be a little cool, maybe on the northern areas, but here in the metro I have forecast 50 for the low tonight. Our highs in the upper 70s for your Thursday. Much calmer, much drier day for your Thursday. We all definitely deserve it. 80% chance of precipitation for this evening for Leesville and DeRidder. Basically a 90 to 100% chance elsewhere for this evening. Most of us receiving about a 1/4 inch to about 3/4 of an inch of rainfall widespread, but someone could see up to 3 inches before all is said and done. And that right there just verifies our forecast, because we've been seeing that so far this evening, and that's verifying as we speak right now. So those temperatures in the 80s once again as we head on to your Friday. A 30%, a 50% chance of scattered activity on Wednesday. SPC hasn't come out with anything yet on it. Really, in general, I think it'll be more garden variety, but an isolated severe storm or two, I don't think's out of the realm there for your Saturday. Temperatures in the mid-80s, 80 there on Sunday. We're going to have a front on Sunday that kind of flirts around with central Louisiana. It could come into our northern areas by Sunday morning, kind of stall out for a bit, but it will push through the area as we head into Sunday night. So that's the reason why I have the front marked there on Sunday night. Temperature of 80 for the high there on Sunday. 40% chance of scattered activity, and that chance is going to continue until that front clears out. After that, it looks like we zero things out for your Tuesday. Temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler behind the front as well. Wednesday, a 10% chance of a stray shower. Those temperatures back to around 80 degrees there for the high. So very active, and you'll probably still hear the rainfall on the roof.
Yeah, Barrett, you were telling me at the beginning of the show, because I asked you, we had that tornado warning. It was supposed to be till 6:15, lasted about 5 minutes, and they lifted it. You said that's not uncommon.
No, it's not uncommon, because a lot of times you can have strong, tight rotation, and over the course of 5 minutes, that rotation can weaken very quickly. If they see that's the case, they'll just let the warning go.
All right, thanks, Barrett. We'll check back in with you as we need to.
It's beginning to pick up something right in here in the center. Now I'll have to query it real quick to see exactly what it's reading. But it's reading down to about a 0.5. So that right there would tell us that it is starting to pick up some non-meteorological artifacts.
Barrett is here now to take over for Tyler. He's been hard at work all day. So Barrett, go ahead with an update.
Yeah, that's right. We have these tornado watches that continue through this evening. Also, we have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings right now, and those severe thunderstorm warnings are going to continue through about 2:45 p.m. For both warnings there. The kind of northern warning does encompass both parts of LaSalle Parish, also Concordia Parish as well, Harrisonburg, Jonesville, Gina. And what we have is we have a squall line, which is more scientifically known as a QLCS, quasi-linear convective system. And this squall line is going to continue to push on to the east at about 40 miles an hour. Once you go down to the south, though, it does encompass parts of just kind of the DeVille area, the eastern sections of the metro, starting to push into a Voles Parish now. You notice a lot of wind gusts and lightning with it as well, and these winds are gusting up to 60 miles an hour with both of these warnings. And the northern warning, these storms are moving to the east at about 40 miles an hour, and with the southern warning down in here, which encompasses a lot of Rapides Parish, those storms are moving east at 45 miles an hour. So a little bit of a faster pace there for those southern different storms. But you notice maybe a little bit in the way of some supercells trying to develop out ahead of it, but we really haven't seen too much of that today, and that's good news because you have a little bit more of a higher chance of getting a good tornado development from those than what you do the actual QLCS or the squall line as it rolls through. But once again, it's a possibility, and we have seen many tornado warnings issued with this squall line, and once this squall line continues to push to the east, it's actually going to be heading toward more favorable environments. Temperatures up to about 80 degrees right now in Natchez, and those dew points up to about 70. And about 70-degree dew points is really what we look for when it comes to that real rich moisture, and it also has to do with how high up in the atmosphere that moisture goes. So we do have rich moisture across the area, and I do believe that has helped to spark off a lot of those tornado warnings across the area. Once again, as far as what we know, nothing's been confirmed. They've all been radar indicated, no tornado warnings right now, but we have those 2 severe thunderstorm warnings with some straight line winds up to about 60 miles an hour. Now we'll take it back to Rachel.